It's not me, it's my book face that you get. I'll just talk behind it. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing one of the most requested videos, and it is just a sit down chat about what I eat. I guess you guys want to know a lot about what I eat. It's probably one of the kind of most interesting questions that I get, is anything to do with the foods that I like, the foods that I try and avoid, the way that I eat to nourish and sculpt my body, and all those questions. So I'm going to answer them all today. The first question, and the one that I get the most, is how do I eat, which is a super general question, and I'm going to try and say it really quickly without rambling on for too long. The way I eat is very different from the way I used to eat, so it's a journey and it's very intuitive, and I try and not restrict myself to any kind of labels like vegan, vegetarian, this free, that free, just because of the nature of us being always changing. And it's kind of the same with my diet. I went through a stage when I was a ballerina of thinking that going vegan was the thing that I should do, and go gluten-free and dairy-free, and I did it all at once, and it was one of the best things I could have possibly done to understand now how small changes and small steps make the bigger difference. I went cold turkey almost instantly, and that definitely left me craving a lot more sweet foods. I was constantly in the kitchen making like sweet creations that were like supposedly healthy, but really just filling my body with like maple syrup and dates, because I lacked that knowledge of what I needed to get from my diet. So for me, how do I eat? Right now, I don't eat any poultry or dairy or sugar, free sugars. So when I say free sugars, that's not just like refined sugars, that's anything that it doesn't occur naturally. So like in fruit, I eat that. And of course I do love like a sorbet or a chocolate cake or something like that. And I do eat that, but like on the occasion and not as a daily thing. So I'm kind of pescatarian as well. So in my diet, I'll have grains and vegetables and fish and eggs occasionally. And I just absolutely love filling my plate with vegetables, and then everything else is kind of just an addition. Protein is super important to me, but there are so many ways to get that with veggie, plant-based food. So I just try and listen to my body and eat super intuitively and see how I feel. I know from my body now that the way it feels best is with the simplest foods. So having like an amazing sauce with like a grain and beans and like explosion of health, actually for my digestive system is just like wow. So I try and keep it really simple, with just really delicious seasoned vegetables and grains, and some salmon or something, and like really quite simple basic food that tastes delicious and is really good for me too. Next question, what do I eat in a typical day? So I have lots of what I eat in a day videos, which I will link below in the description box, and that kind of just actually shows you the food. But I kind of generally stick to the same sort of formula. For breakfast, I'll have either a really lovely protein smoothie, so I'll mix my favourite Form Nutrition protein powder, or sometimes I use Sun Warrior or Vega protein, with some spinach, some cashew milk, some oats. That's like a really lovely green smoothie. I try not to have like too dense of fruit, so I don't really use banana or mango or anything too sugary first thing, because I do have that kind of crash, even if it is kind of with the protein. So I try and keep it quite simple. And then sometimes I have eggs, like a poached egg on asparagus, or that's like if I've actually got time, but normally it's a smoothie. Sometimes I also have like some protein porridge as well if I feel like I need something quite hearty, but generally I don't have like hot breakfasts, and I'm normally quite on the go, so a smoothie is perfect, and it's the perfect thing like post-workout. I normally work out on an empty stomach and then have my breakfast. For lunch, I normally am actually out for lunch. I'm either at meetings or I have a Tupperware box and I've taken something from the night before. So when it comes to lunch, it's normally what I've eaten for dinner, and I normally make double the amount, and then I have the same thing for lunch, which is really boring, but it really does work. Or sometimes I'll do the Sunday prep for my cookbook, and that's really useful because I just make 3 salads on a Sunday, and then I kind of mix that in with just some, like, it might be a quinoa salad, I'll mix it in with just some fresh green leaves and some hummus or something, and I just mix and match during the week. And then for dinner, it's normally a balanced bowl, which again is another kind of formula of my cookbook, where it's just the grain, you pick the protein, you pick the veggie, and you pick like an awesome sauce, and then you mix it all in. Or I'll have something, it's normally quite protein based again, like if I'm gonna have carbohydrate, like, and I always have carbohydrate. If I'm gonna have like a carbohydrate based meal, so like a pasta or like a quinoa dish, it's normally midday, just because I need more energy then. But I'm on the go all the time, so normally I don't get to cook. Question number 3, do I track macros or calories? And I don't, as a kind of everyday thing. However, there's like a lot of people talking about them being, you know, extremely toxic, you know, counting your calories, counting your macros, and I do agree with that. But for a lot of the clients that I see, the personal training clients, I do actually find it really useful. It depends on what kind of person you are. Not every day, but if you are to, I think people normally refer to those kind of like macro apps like FitnessPal and things like that, where you enter in everything you're eating. And if you do that for one day, I actually find it incredibly interesting, because you see the balance of what you're eating. And sometimes it might be that you're not eating enough carbohydrate, or you're eating too much fat, or you're just not balancing out the food groups enough, and that actually could be one of the reasons that you don't have enough energy, you're feeling quite lethargic. So I think they're useful to find that out. Same with calories. If you're not eating enough calories, then you're going to be tired, and it might make sense. It's just little things like that. I think it's quite useful just to check in with yourself, because it's an easy way for us all just to make sure we're getting a good range of nutrients. Day to day, I kind of count my calories and my macros with my eyes. I just know what kind of foods that I need on a daily basis, and I kind of just do that visually, and I don't really think about it too much. But I do think, you know, every month or so, just if I've changed up what I'm eating, it's kind of interesting to see where the macronutrients are coming from. The next question's a funny one. The next question I get quite often when I do like a ballet blast core workout, the following question will be like, but what do I eat to get abs? Because obviously abs are made in the kitchen, right? And they are made in the kitchen as well as the studio. It is an equal balance in my opinion. But what do you eat to get abs? You eat, abs aren't important, and they're not a reflection of your health. I do understand that for some people they want them, and naturally they do come if you have a really on point diet and you work out a lot. That's just, you know, the strength comes, but not for all of us. When it comes to diet, it is about kind of, basically you want to tone up, and everybody says I want to tone up, I want to tone my core, and toning that up is not necessarily losing weight, it's losing body fat and gaining muscle. So in doing that, you want to make sure that you're eating kind of a higher protein diet, so making sure you're getting a really good protein volume in your everyday diet, and then maybe reducing some of the more refined carbohydrates. But I would honestly say that it is a lot easier to do that if you're really keen on trying to sculpt your abs with a nutritionist's help, just because we are all so different. For me, if I want to really show off my core, it's about doing the workout, because my diet's already there. So for me, it's all about that. And if I saw a nutritionist, they would say the same thing to me. They'd say, you need to focus on this, and then maybe just drop the like 5 portions of avocado you have during the week because you're eating quite a lot of fat. Like, it's all very different. It's all very different, and I don't think it's necessarily important. But I would see a nutritionist if that's your main question. The next question is, what are my views on sugar? So my first view on sugar is that it's blinking delicious. So I don't think it should be forgotten, but I actually do think that when it comes to sculpting your body, it should be slightly restricted, just because it's so addictive. And once for me anyways, if I start eating little bits of raw chocolate here and there, like just during the day, I crave sugar so much more. And it does, the body holds on to it. And I think as soon as I got rid of the free sugars, and free sugars are anything like honey and date syrup, like things that are added, not necessarily, you know, not naturally occurring sugars, so fruit's fine. Again, I don't eat that much fruit either. I just really try and make my palate as savoury as possible, and then everything sweet is more of a treat for me. And I like it that way, just because I do find that the more I eat it, it's not restrictive and I feel like, oh my god, I like need this, but otherwise I actually do rely on it, and my body changes quite dramatically when I don't eat sugar. So for all of my clients, the first thing that I will say to them is to get rid of the free sugars, and that normally changes their body quite a lot, because it does cut out quite a lot of foods that your body doesn't necessarily use as efficiently as others. So for me, sugar is not the enemy, because I don't think that we should be like, oh my god, sugar, like you can't eat it. It's definitely delicious, and I love me a sweet treat. I literally, if you see my blog, you'll know that I love sweet recipes, but I probably have them like once a week. I have like a Saturday bake day and I make the most delicious bake and I love it and I eat it and I thoroughly enjoy it, and I don't really feel like I'm restricting myself because I just spend that time and it's almost therapeutic. It's just like the baking, and I love it, but I don't do it as a daily thing because otherwise I would be in a sweet coma 24/7. The next question is, how do I get my protein? So obviously I don't eat meat. I do eat fish and eggs, so I get my protein there, but not all the time. I really do try and get the main source of protein in my day-to-day diet from plants, and I start to always think about ways that I can pair different kind of plant-based foods together to get more protein. So I'll have like a really delicious like curry with a cashew korma sauce. So you've got the cashew nuts in there, you've got brown rice which has some protein in it, you've got some peas maybe with it, and they all have protein. So in my book, which I wrote 2 years ago, I did do like, I always refer to it, which is why I'm putting it out now. It's not just like a shameless plug. It has all the amount of proteins per serving of different things. So like peas, 100 grams is 5 grams of protein. Broccoli, 100 grams is 2.8. You've got all of them here, and you can find them online too if you haven't got my book. But I do find that really useful because you've got loads of things, like you've got loads of different beans. Although for me, I'm like, unless it's hummus, I try and avoid beans too much because I think any vegan will tell you they just make you fart. So I really can't be dealing with that with like a room full of ballet blasters. I'm not going to be teaching and be like high on beans. But protein powder is really good, and I love Form Nutrition. I think I said this earlier, Form Nutrition, Sun Warrior, Vega, they're all really brilliant. Any ones that are like based with pea protein but don't taste like sandpaper, they've got my vote. So I love those, and they're kind of the way that I do supplement. I don't supplement like meals with protein powder, but I absolutely do add them to like smoothies and things like that because that's really helpful. So yeah, that's how I get my protein. I try and just think about it a little bit. I just plan it out, just make sure that the vegetables that I'm eating combine well to get a good source of that. The last question is, what is my food philosophy? And my food philosophy, like my philosophy in life and in the studio, is about balance. So it's just about having a little of what makes you love food, because food is there to be enjoyed, but also the food that's going to nourish your body. And for me, food is really all about fueling fitness. That's how I've always known it since growing up in the studio as a ballet dancer, training. It's always been to fuel my body, and I think that it's important because food can become quite an emotionally strung thing, but if we strip it back, it's just to give our bodies the best opportunity to thrive. So I try and think of food always as what's going to do my body best today, and I think if we all just think about it a little bit slower, a little bit more emotionally, so you just, you know, strip it back and you just actually go, what does my body need? And you kind of hang up all the, but I really crave this and want this, then for me I have a much better relationship with the food that I'm eating because I know it's doing the best things for my body. So those are all the questions that I had sent in to answer. There are lots more, but I think that those probably covered most of it. I could talk about food for ages. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments. Hit thumbs up, like if you did, or if you like food, why don't you just like it if you like food. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm going to be bringing you lots more videos around food, ballet blast and all of that, and I will see you in a video very, very soon. Thanks guys.